Okay, welcome back everybody. And what you might be asking is, what is all this? Well, let me just recap really quickly. I recently harvested all those castings out of 3 bins, and I took the worms and I launched these 2 new bins with those worms. However, I'm still left with the incomplete task of giving my collected castings a chance to depopulate, because I did collect those castings in a way that did result in a fair number of worms and eggs and cocoons being left in the material. So I need a couple large bins into which all that material will fit, so I can create up another horizontal migration, sort of a secondary horizontal migration, to really allow the not yet hatched worms and the existing worms that are in that material to exit the material. And at that point, there might still be worms remaining in the material, but at that point I'll feel more comfortable using it as sort of amendment to my soil in the garden. But before that can happen, I need to empty these 2 new bins, the ones that started a week ago on September 19th. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the contents of these into these 2 smaller, more shallow bins. I think the material in these bins should fit fine. And then that'll give me the extra space that I need in these 2 larger bins to dump in all the castings, and then alongside the castings set up another horizontal migration setup. Shouldn't take too long, I hope. So I've just fired up the camera and I was going to capture the action, and maybe we'll even see a few worms. So let's get to work on this. These bins have only been in action for a week now, so it's not my intent to feed them or to disrupt them very much at all. What I really like to do is try to just scoop them out and drop them in, and do so by causing as little disruption as possible. Let's see how this is gonna go. It'd be nice if I could do this in just a few swift motions. Those of you that are worm spotting, you should be able to already see a few of them crawling around here and there. And the worms were dropped into the bin in a fairly scattered way throughout the entire surface of the bin, across the entire top of it. So I think that the worm population is spread out pretty evenly in this bin. The next bin. Okay, so now I guess the one difference is the launch date. I'm going to go ahead and take these labels off of these bins and move them onto these bins now, since these are the week-old bins correlating to this launch date. Okay, that's bin number 1 out of 2 complete. Just put it over there temporarily. We'll get the second one going. Same story as before. Not going to try anything different, because what we did there before seemed to work pretty well. Remember, there's some really large chunks of cardboard that I used, not cardboard, but paper. So brown paper bag from leaf bags that I had. The leaf bags that were shot. That's also the material is so huge and clunky. I have about a week for the worms to work on it, so not much at all. Again, almost finished with the relocation. This is September 19th bins. Still have the remaining 2. Okay, bin number 2. Like I said, I'm going to get the labels off those containers and move them onto these shallow bins that now house the in progress new bins that are a week old now. Okay, so that's the first half of what we were after. Let's clean up here a little bit first before we continue. Okay, the labels have been moved over onto the bins, and the bins are pretty much ready to go. Just created a couple new covers for them. Forward. It was just a matter of taking the material and dumping it. There's no need to try to preserve any of the the layering or any sort of arrangement of the material within the container that it's in right now. I believe we can just proceed with dumping it. I gotta tell you though, this stuff is heavy. It's dense. It's got a great deal of weight. Okay. And hopefully it's not too clumped together, so hopefully it'll flow pretty readily. Oh, I felt like a big chunk. Definitely see a fair number of worms cruising around. More material. Oops. Oh, geez. Nice going. Really swift. Okay, well, live and learn, they say, right? This was a fair amount of material. It's a little bit unwieldy. I'll try to get it in the bin. Okay. Why don't I try to collect what's on the other side over there really quick before... Bad. I don't really see any more worms in here. It's just all castings. Okay, so for the horizontal feeding in these vermicompost bins, I've got the bedding all set up, and I've also got these fancy little barriers that I created. I imagine them sliding in and allowing me to set up the feeding zone and have it sort of partitioned from the castings. And there should be plenty of space for the worms to get by. But I'll go ahead and I'll use my handy knife and I'll punch some holes in the side before I set it up. This way there'll be plenty of room for the worms to make their way through. The width of this box is just a bit more than the width of the tray. Alright, so we just need to create a little bit of a cavity for that to fit into. Alright. Hopefully it's not much easier said than done. That even though it looks like all castings, it's probably got a fair amount of uneaten food in it still. Hope I didn't underestimate the amount of material that I'm going to be getting out of these. Okay, so this is going to go in like so. I can sort of get this into its true position, and I can gently backfill it. We're pretty good with this. Let's just let gravity be your friend. I don't want to deal with the feeding yet. I just wanted to get the basic structure of it done. The feeding can come later. Let's get ourselves over to bin number 2. Actually, here's the paper for that bin. We'll fix it up momentarily. Okay. Bin number 2. Hopefully this time we don't dump as much on the table as we did last time. Okay, so now here's the second bin. This time there's no lid for me to hold. There's just this handle to try to keep out of my way. So one more time, away we go. Palms away. Jostle it a little bit to help it come loose more easily. Stuff isn't pretty good. Almost there once again. A little bit wet, but it immediately crumbles when you touch it. Just try to aerate some of this stuff that came out in big chunks. Try to level it off. Big chunk here. My bet is that the chunks are where there was food, and the chunks are really just worms that are holding the stuff together. That's what it seems like I experienced here on a couple occasions. Breaking these little jumbles apart. Yeah, that's what this has to be. Why else would they jumble together like that? Okay, so I guess that's enough with the stick. Let's get the hands dirty again. Just one more time. We have to fit one of these into place and create another new home for the horizontal migration. Let's get this going. Okay, we're all set with this thing. Let's just scoop over. Yeah, look at all those worms in there. You want to come closer? Check it out. What's happening here? Oy, oy, oy. There's definitely a lot of worms in this material. I see tons of worms, but one thing I always fail to do is try to look for cocoons. I just don't happen to have the eyewear to do it right now. Oy. Try not to do that too much. Space. Okay, not bad. It for now. Okay, so at this point there's just a few odds and ends that I need to take care of before I can wrap up here. So once again, thanks for tagging along on my little adventures here in my wormery, and before long I'm sure I'll be back with another video to give you updates on what's happening here. So if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching, and bye for now. We'll see you next time.